And a big hello to everyone. This is Mike Martinego from SportMed BC. So glad you could join us for our first SportSmart webinar. Now, SportSmart is a new injury prevention and performance program put together by SportMed BC, funded through the Public Health Agency of Canada's Active and Safe grant. We've had plenty of workshops all across the province. We started just towards the end of August of this year. We've gone into November, continuing right through to early 2013, and along with we're chock full of a variety of resources and tips and tools and plenty of workshops, as I mentioned, and webinars, which is a nice segue into what we have right now. It's our first one, and it's the first one of the program. It's SportMed BC's safety coordinator, Seb Hartel. He'll take you through ACL injury prevention, techniques, and management. So I'll have Seb take it away.
Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in with us today. So here we are, ready to talk about some ACL injury prevention techniques and management. And so the ACL is can be a very devastating injury and a long road to recovery. And so what we're going to talk about today is describe the injury, but also want to talk to you guys about how to prevent the injury from happening. And so there are some techniques out there, and so that's what we do want to talk about today. So today's agenda for the webinar is we are going to talk about the ACL itself, where exactly it is in the body and stuff, and then we'll also talk about some signs and symptoms, how the ACL is injured, some gender considerations, and so that's talking about the differences between males and females, some injury prevention, and then how to utilize the SportMed Safety Network online. So the ACL itself, also known as the Anterior Cruciate Ligament, and so the ACL is located in the knee, and it passes from the lateral part of the end of the femur, which is the long bone of the thigh, through the center of the knee into the anterior region of the tibia, which is your shin bone. As you see here in the picture, it passes up from the femur right here and down into the tibia, and it's a very small ligament in terms of tissue size, but it's kind of shocking as to such a small tissue can cause such a devastating injury to the body. Here we see another view from the anterior, from the front of the ACL, and so you see it right here into a pretty realistic view. And so just wanted to point out that, notice in relation to the surrounding structures, that it's a very small in size tissue, but it plays such an important role in the body, which we'll go over next. And so the role of the ACL is to it prevents the knee from giving out, which is noticed more during sports when you're cutting, planting the foot, stopping quickly, and downhill running. It limits that hyperextension of the knee, so the leg too far forward, prevents the anterior or the forward sliding of the tibia, which is that shin bone again, onto the femur, which is once again that long bone of the thigh. And it also limits some rotational movement of the knee as well. Some of the signs and symptoms of an ACL injury include pain, swelling, some discoloration. You may notice an audible snap or pop at the time of injury, much like an engine kicking back or a lawnmower kicking back. You might feel also some joint laxity and instability. So the athlete will usually complain about this as they have a feeling of the knee giving away. Some injury and signs or symptoms, the way that basically some special tests are done to help identify the ACL injury, and some of these tests include the Lockman's test, the pivot shift, the anterior drawer, which is pictured right here below, and then also some diagnostic imaging, which is above the MRI pictured. And so special tests are done, it's of manually testing the integrity of the ligament. So these tests all include manipulation of the ligament, and you want to see if the joint does have any increased laxity, which that's usually the positive sign. Is in such case, in this picture here, is the anterior drawer, is the therapist or test administrator will actually pull out on the shin or the lower leg, and the joint will actually start to slide out, sometimes up to almost an inch sliding out. So how the ACL is injured, and so mechanisms of injury, and it's surprising that 72% of ACL injuries actually happen without contact, and so this includes hyperextension, mostly when you're decelerating prior to a change of direction or from a landing motion, or from that planted twist where you're running and doing that sharp sudden cut, let's say in football or soccer, and your foot's firmly implanted into the ground and your body turns and your leg kind of stays in that place for a little bit longer than it should, and you get that stretching of the ligament. As mentioned before, though, 28% do happen from contact, and as we see here in the picture, the football player happens too often either from a slide tackle in soccer or rugby or football contact sports where the player hits a direct blow into the knee, creating a valgus collapse of the knee and a forced hyperextension. It's also worth noting that ACL tears are associated with other injuries in the knee, usually the lateral meniscus or the MCL. Oftentimes all three can happen at once, and it's related to, or also called, the terrible triad. So a sprain of the ACL ligament or a full tear will actually occur when the stress produced within the ligament exceeds its tensile strength, and it's actually surprisingly shocking that over 200,000 ACL tears happen each year in the United States alone.
And Seb, I just want to jump in right now and let all the viewers out there know that on the right-hand side you should have a little go-to webinar navigation bar, and featured in there is the capability on your end to ask questions. So feel free to ask questions along the way. If for whatever reason we don't get to any or all of those questions because we are caught up in this webinar, then we will certainly get back to you. We do have your information as well. You can email Seb at sebh, S-E-B-H, at sportmedbc.com. We'll give it back to Seb here.
Thanks, Mike. And moving along now, so some more injury considerations. And so muscular imbalances is one of the big considerations with ACL injuries. And so this includes some of the reasons why the ACL is at high risk of injury is because there's an imbalance in the hamstrings versus the quads, which puts more stress on the ACL as the muscle of the knee isn't ready to handle the demands imposed from such movements that we mentioned before. Having proper strength in all the muscles that cross the knee help increase its stability. These include the quads, hamstrings, the adductor groin muscles, the gastrocs, which is that big muscle in the calf, just to name a few of the muscles. And so you can see here in the picture just how many structures actually do cross the knee and help hold it in place. And so yeah, so that's something to consider during these during ACL injuries. Another consideration is the playing surface, and so whether we're talking about the gym floor or the turf versus field, it's very important recent studies have shown that there is actually an increase of risk of knee injury on turf surfaces versus natural grass. This may be due to the increased traction of either the field itself or because of the shoes and the way that shoes fit into the new fields here. Another cause of injury might be just the condition of the field as well. So this includes any holes or divots. And so you can just imagine that wide receiver running for that deep ball and getting their leg caught in a little divot and causing it to bend too far forward or into hyperextension, causing that tear. So be sure to inspect fields regularly for any holes or divots and get them fixed up because that's 100% preventable. There's really no excuse to having those holes or divots in the field and causing such a serious long-term injury. Some sports are more at risk than others, and so we do have a high-risk category of sports for ACL injuries, and so these include multi-directional sports, which involve a lot of cutting or quick side-to-side and lateral and twisting motions, including football, basketball, volleyball, soccer, skiing, team handball, for example, as well. Now moving forward, just want to mention that studies have shown that females are 4 to 8 times more likely to suffer an ACL injury. And so if we're diving more into this, a few of the reasons would be that women do have a wider pelvis and Q angle. And so a Q angle is actually the angle formed by a line drawn from the ASIS, which you can see here over the cursor here, to the central of the patella, which is also your kneecap. So this line here that's drawn and compared to the line that's drawn through the thigh and to the center of the tibia and the tibial tubercle down here. So this line here, which creates an angle which is called the Q angle. And so you can see here that generally women's Q angle is a few degrees bigger than or wider than males, which puts a little bit more stress on the ACL ligament itself. Also in women, they have smaller ACL sizes, and looking on the picture on the right here, you can see that they have a more narrow intercondylar notch, which does create an extra different angle or stress on the ACL as well, leaving it more prone to injury. Typically in women as well, there is tendency to have more body fat and less lean body mass in women. And so, as mentioned before on how the ACL is injured, if the muscular strength isn't there to protect the knee or to support the knee, if you don't have the necessary strength to be ready for those the movements, you are more at risk of injury for sure. Also, in terms of between men and women, women rely more on quads and males rely more on hamstrings to stabilize the knee while performing those motions. And so the ratio in between hamstrings and quads is often inferior for women, and so the quadriceps are pulling too far forward and the hamstrings aren't usually able to fully prevent or fully pull back that knee into its proper and safe position. Taking a look at the hormonal levels in women, so through the menstrual cycle, there is a change in the hormones or the hormonal levels throughout the cycle, and so actually during the ovulatory phase, women are at a significant greater risk of injury during that phase there, and that's just because of the hormones. The hormonal changes leaves the elastin levels a little bit different, and the ligaments are a little bit more at risk in terms of being able to adapt to the forces. And so that being said, we can't ask coaches to ask female athletes to sit out during ovulation phases or while they're ovulating, but it's just an interesting fact to know for sure. So if an ACL injury has been suffered, most likely it will require some surgical intervention, and so the recovery from that is unfortunately a very long and intense process, and so it's usually a 6 to 12 month recovery process, and these processes should be supervised by the surgeon and the healthcare practitioner, whether it's an athletic therapist or physiotherapist, for example. It is very important because there is a very strong possible risk of re-injury, and during this recovery phase and during the rehab, it is very important to reduce not only the pain, but also increase the strength and range of motion into the knee so that you can go on and recover fully and be able to perform at sport at a high level once fully recovered. There is usually a strong need for a knee brace during recovery just to help with reducing the chances of re-injury, and these braces can get very expensive, so it's just another negative of the ACL injuries. And so that's why we're going to kind of segue into injury prevention to help kind of avoid this situation. And here is one of my favorite quotes from Benjamin Franklin, who said that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And recent studies have shown that prevention programs have been successful in reducing ACL injuries by up to 89% in soccer, basketball, handball, and skiing. Some the program components into an injury prevention program include strengthening, which we'll go over a few exercises after this, technique modifications, so proper techniques into landing, proper cutting or more turning into sports, having some core and trunk control, which is also very important, aerobic conditioning as the body tires and the muscles tire, they are less adapt or their responsiveness to movements is a little bit delayed. Some agility and balance and plyometrics are also very important too. Normally or ideally exercises would be done, the programs would be done 2 or 3 times a week to help build up that strength and coordination into the knee. So the first exercise is a ball squat on the wall, and so this involves a medicine ball or a Swiss ball, excuse me, and the athlete or the person would lean up against the wall with the ball and dip down into a squat position. And so it's very important to know that this can be done with weights or without weights, with just body weight. But some of the keys that you're looking out for is you don't want to have your back dip under the ball. You want to maintain a good straight posture the whole way down. And in the knees as well, it's very important that the knees don't go too far forward over the toes, and that your knees aren't collapsing inwards or outwards, and that you're keeping the whole trunk, core, and glute muscles activated throughout the whole time. This is a great exercise for your quads and hamstrings as well, so very highly recommended. Another exercise is the lunge, and so lunges, to note here, lunges in all directions are multi-directional, and so not just straight forward and back, but also going off to a 45 and perhaps 90-degree angle off to the sides as well. And so this helps just target more of the muscle groups instead of just focusing or isolating just one portion of the muscle groups that you're exercising or targeting. Very important to maintain control of the core and glute to have good activation throughout the exercise to maintain proper form. And again, in this exercise as well, just like the previous one, you don't want to have your knees collapsing in or out. You want maintaining good control and have a good proper spinal alignment throughout the whole way. The next exercise includes for the hamstrings and glutes, and so on the left there, as you can see, there's the hamstring curls, which also in this particular picture, do involve a Swiss ball. Important here to maintain good proper spinal alignment, to not dip too far down or too far up, to maintain control throughout the whole movement. And this includes, again, good core and glute activation, which I know I'm repeating myself a lot, but I can't stress enough how important it is during all these exercises to maintain proper form. On the right, there is a glute bridge exercise with the leg extension, and so this exercise demands a lot of control throughout the core and the glutes, as well as some good leg strength to go and push forward and get that leg straight. And so again, during this one, you want to make sure that you have proper form throughout the whole way. Another exercise that we have here is for the calf raises, and as mentioned before, the gastrocnemius muscles do cross the knees, so these are also very important muscles in sport to help make sure that they're strong enough to handle the demand. And so we have a couple variations here on screen. Number one involving a step, whether it's steps in your house or the steps at the gym here, and this involves just dipping down below the level and straight back up. And then on the right, we have on a flat surface with a ball in between the feet, and that just recruits a little bit more muscle and coordination, as well as to maintain control of the ball throughout the whole exercise. This is my personal favorite exercise, and this is the lateral Theraband walks. And so this includes throwing a Theraband around just below the knees and then taking some side steps. And so for my example, I would do, let's say, 10 steps or 10 walking steps to the left, stop, and then 10 to the right. And this makes sure that to target all the muscles. And this is a great exercise because it requires a good core and good trunk posture, as well as targeting all the glutes and adductors as well, and abductor muscles. Very, very good exercise. You want to make sure that you maintain a good straight posture the whole way through it, and you're not cheating and leaning in with the shoulders or the trunk. So very important in this sense, or in this exercise, to do that. But this is a great exercise that I do myself very often, and also this exercise will help make your lunges and squats way more efficient as well. So very good exercise to help kind of conclude all these in terms of the strengthening portion. A very great program that's been developed is the FIFA F11 program, and this is an injury prevention warm-up program that focuses on running, strength, balance, and plyometrics. It's a free resource online that, if you follow at that link below on the page, brings you to their website, where they have manual videos, pictures of every single exercise that they've provided, along with a great description of all of them. And so if you see here on the pictures on the left, there's the correct form, but they also show the wrong form and some of the common mistakes happening. So on the left here, as you can see, with the head coming up too high and too much arching of the back in both cases. And also in that bottom picture, having the arms not located directly or not at a 90 degrees and good support. So on the right of the screen as well, they're showing a 2.5 minute video of the hamstring exercises, and they really go into great detail about all of them. So I highly suggest checking this out for all those soccer coaches out there. It's a great exercise or program that brings you what you should be doing, for, let's say, the first 15 minutes of practice, and then even before a game. They do modify it a little bit for the game, but great descriptions and highly suggested as well. So great for all those soccer coaches out there, but for other sports as well. A lot of these exercises can't hurt for sure, and can definitely alter the exercise a little bit to respond to your sport a little bit more. So just in conclusion here, we just want to mention that ACL injuries are very serious injuries, but that they can be prevented. And so at least we can reduce the risk. And so just kind of reiterating that females are more likely than males to sustain an ACL injury, though it is still very prevalent in males. Prevention programs incorporating neuromuscular training have shown to help prevent ACL injuries. Like we mentioned, those certain sports reduce actually the risk 89%. And so as much as they are a very daunting and serious injury, there is some stuff that can be done to help reduce the risk, and as mentioned in this presentation. So hopefully we've kind of stimulated you guys enough to go out and start doing these exercises, incorporating them in either the teams you work with or in your own personal athletic careers. Just want to now quickly turn to sportmedbc.com and our SportMed Safety Network, and it's a free resource for you guys to join. The link is below on the page. You guys can go and find all our great resources, which include athletic taping videos, exercise and training videos, some document templates including injury report forms and medical questionnaires, some great articles, and a lot more. And so the link is there at the bottom to join. It is free, but there is a small registration due. Also follow us online at Facebook and Twitter, and so like us on Facebook and on Twitter. So there are our handles and Facebook's page. So be sure to like us on there and follow us there. A lot of good information is given out on there, and it's a great way for us to interact with our communities as well. And then finally, my contact information as well. So if you guys have any questions about the ACLs specifically or anything else that we've mentioned in this presentation, do not hesitate to contact me. I like to make myself readily available for your questions. I'm going to pass it back over to Mike one more time, but thanks again for joining along and paying attention or joining in on the video.
Well, thanks again, Seb. As he mentioned there, for various tips and tools and all the resources, how to host a workshop, so much more, check out sportmedbc.com and sign up for our free safety network, and check SportSmart out. The webinar will be posted online, so that will be one of the many resources available to you. You can check that out at any time of the day. You can check it out in the morning, at lunchtime when you're enjoying lunch, right after dinner, whatever you like. So check us out at sportmedbc.com. I want to thank you one more time for joining us. For all the latest information, sportmedbc.com. You can also become a fan of us at facebook.com/sportmedbc.